How often do you get to stay somewhere that was once a royal pleasure palace, later made famous by James Bond, and eventually turned into a hotel thanks to a suggestion from the wife of one of America's most iconic presidents? We stayed at the legendary Taj Lake Palace in Udaipur, named the most romantic hotel in the world by Travel and Leisure, and once ranked the #1 hotel on earth. In this video, we're sharing everything we experienced, what we paid, and whether it lived up to the dream. Stick around till the end to find out who that First Lady was and how her idea gave us all a chance to experience royalty like nowhere else. We're Manmeet and Ankit, and on this channel, we explore iconic hotels, boutique luxury stays, and offbeat road trip itineraries around the world. If you're dreaming of your next meaningful escape, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell because the best journeys are the ones you don't miss. We were in Udaipur for a friend's wedding, and after 2 sleepless nights celebrating love, it was time for a little romance of our own. So, we booked 2 nights at the Taj Lake Palace, one of the few hotels in the world where arrival is exclusively by boat. Access is strictly reserved for guests with a room or dining reservation. It's that kind of exclusivity that turns an arrival into an event. As the boat docked and we stepped onto the marble landing, we were welcomed with a shower of rose petals and the gentle rhythm of folk musicians and dancers. It felt theatrical, almost surreal, like we'd been cast in a royal period film. And in that moment, I couldn't help but join in. Inside, the lobby was all old world charm. Marble floors, carved archways, and staff that welcomed us with the kind of grace that makes you slow down without realizing it. Disha from the hotel team welcomed us and led us through arched corridors and courtyards dappled in sunlight. At one point, she insisted we pause in the central courtyard to take a photo, and honestly, we're glad we did. When we finally stepped into our room, all that anticipation made sense. We had booked the Palace View category, the one that gives you the postcard shot. The city palace shimmering across Lake Pichola, framed perfectly from your window. It's the view we'd hoped for, and honestly, it lived up to the hype. This room was everything we needed. Intimate, romantic, and steeped in quiet charm. And everything, from the intricate woodwork to the embroidered cushions, felt like it belonged to another time. We could have spent the entire day in that room just watching the light change across the lake, but we were still carrying 2 nights of wedding fatigue, and our bodies wanted a different kind of magic. A temperature-controlled pool framed in white marble with uninterrupted views of Lake Pichola and the city palace. Towering over us was a 160-year-old mango tree, heart-shaped, almost like a blessing. The vibe was quiet, shaded, and impossibly peaceful. After an afternoon of floating, feasting, and finally unwinding, our next decision was simple: dinner. We'd heard great things about Neel, Kamal, the palace's elegant Rajasthani restaurant. Neel Kamal is everything you wouldn't expect from a palace restaurant. Understated, earthy, and intimate. An open kitchen, bold for Indian food, gently filled the space with warm aromas while a classical musician played in the background. The setting didn't just match the palace, it belonged to it. We opted for their signature Rajasthani Thali. Since it's a heavy meal, the host graciously offered smaller individual portions of the appetizers, soup, and dessert while letting us share the main thali. The flavors were bold, layered, and deeply satisfying. After dinner, we stepped out into the central garden right outside our room. It was softly lit, fragrant, and the perfect way to walk off an indulgent meal while soaking in the quiet of the lake. The next morning, we woke up early to catch the sunrise from our window. As the sky began to glow, the golden light wrapped itself around the city palace, turning it into a silhouette of pure magic. Still glowing from the night before, we headed to Jharokha for breakfast. Ankit requested only local dishes, and what followed was a royal feast. Bajre ki roti, kachoris, chilla, Rajasthani chole bhature, every dish came with a story, a smile, and a side of history from the restaurant head himself. While the food was delicious, our eyes were feasting on something even more special. The view from the most coveted seat in the restaurant. The corner Jharokha, where the morning light pours in and the city palace shimmers across the lake. It's a front row seat to Udaipur waking up. There are only 2 such Jharokhas in the restaurant and they're not easy to come by, but if you miss them, the middle Jharokha is nearly as magical. We thought breakfast would be the highlight of the morning until we heard the soft sound of a flute floating down from above. We stepped out of Jharokha and looked up, and there he was, perched in an old gazebo, a musician playing as the morning aarti echoed from the temple across the courtyard. We climbed the stairs to catch the scene and stood still for a few minutes, eyes closed, letting the music and incense wrap around us like a blessing. After a stroll through the palace, we saw many guests boarding boats to explore the city or shop in Udaipur's famed markets. But we had other plans. We headed straight back to the pool, found our favorite sunbed, and sunk into a lazy afternoon of reading, pausing only to admire the stillness of the lake. By evening, we were recharged and ready to experience everything the hotel had to offer. At 5 p.m., we joined the guided heritage tour, a walk through the palace's history, courtyards, and royal anecdotes. The Taj Lake Palace, now 278 years old, was built in 1746 as a pleasure residence for the young Prince of Mewar. A palace meant for moonlit retreats and royal celebrations. For centuries, it remained off limits to the world, an island sanctuary only for royalty. After independence, it was briefly converted into a museum, until a certain First Lady of United States paid a visit to Udaipur. She dined here, wandered the corridors, and made a casual suggestion that this marble marvel should be turned into a hotel. That First Lady? Jackie Kennedy. A few years later, Taj stepped in, and the rest is hospitality history. At 6, we boarded a sunset boat ride that circled the lake. Passing Gangoor Ghat, the steps of the city palace, and other havelis. The boat usually stops at Jug Mandir, but on our day, a private event was underway, so we cruised along instead, slowly, with no complaints. We also saw the famous Gangoor boat docked nearby, where private dining and special experiences are arranged for guests. And by 7, we were seated in the central courtyard for a folk performance. Vibrant, intimate, and full of heart. The musicians played Rajasthani classics that had everyone humming along. It didn't feel staged, it felt shared. On our final morning, we returned to Jharokha for one last indulgent breakfast. As we packed up and prepared to leave, the question we'd been holding in our minds all along finally came into focus. Was it worth it? Was this truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience, the kind we'd remember long after the suitcases were unpacked? ₹55,000 a night is not a small amount. But the truth is, this is not something you can replicate. Not with more money, not in another country, not in another lifetime. It's not about opulence. It's about being a part of a 278-year-old story that's still being told. It's a story you don't just hear, but live in. For a day, a night, a fleeting moment. And if you can afford to experience that even once, we think you absolutely should. As we looked back one last time from the boat, we said to ourselves, other hotels may look at the Lake Palace, but here, for 2 unforgettable nights, we were the palace. After our stay here, we headed to another heritage icon, Ras Devi Garh. You can watch that video right here. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep trippin' like a local.